Hello everyone and welcome back to Always Play Blue. My name's Brian and today we'll be looking at the fourth video in my top 50 games of ending 2021. So this is 20 down to 11. Videos have been going well. I've been getting some nice comments and apart from a few issues I've had with the sound quality still, I'm definitely in the new year going to start looking at getting some better quality equipment and some software, because I don't think what I have is up to the job at the moment, but I'm going to persist for these last two videos and just so I apologise for all the people who have to turn the volume up quite high. I'd rather it was too quiet and to turn it up than it was booming loud and you guys would put off by my voice being like that. So yeah, so this is the penultimate list, or the penultimate section of the list in the top 50. And so I think I said last time that the closer we get to number one, the more excited I'm getting about these games. So these are, I mean, all 50 are favourites. They're on the list for that reason, but we're getting down to the real good ones now. We've got, I think, 4 new entries, couple of risers, couple of fallers, but I'll mention those when we get to them. So without further ado, so we're starting off with a new entry immediately onto this list. So at number 20 we have Radlands, or if you have just the internal box, Radlands. This is designed by Daniel Pechnik, published by Roxley Games. It's a 2-player only sort of battle card game. I went for so this was the standard edition, which holds all the cards and the tokens, but I went for the deluxe one, which comes with a bigger box, sort of this size. Which, can I just point out as well, amazing art inside the cover there. But it comes in the big box that sits that small one plus 2 mats with different images on them with all the card layout. I'm starting to get into mats. I originally thought they were a bit of a overindulgence, and I didn't have anywhere to store them separately. So this is nice that they actually are in the box, so it just goes on the shelf as sort of one unit. But yeah, I'm starting to get more and more into the play mats now, mainly for I mean, a lot of them look quite good, but also because it's just nice having all the spaces marked out where the cards go and stuff, so easy for setup. But like I say, this is a 2-player only, sort of head-to-head card game where you are. Let's see if we can get some cards out here. Yeah, so you've got 3 base cards. You start the game off at the bottom with 3 base cards, and they each have a kind of ability. A lot of the cards in here are really good in that they have like really tempting, powerful abilities, but at a cost. I actually had a starting base that gave me a nice amount of water to start the game, and I think I got to draw more cards into my hand, but then I flipped that card to its destroyed side straight away. So the aim of the game is to destroy your opponent's 3 bases at the back, and you're doing everything you can to put characters and other things in front of those bases, almost like tower defense. So you're trying to sort of protect your back 3 while you're trying to attack your opponent's back 3. But it's another one of those games that I saw it and I liked how it looked. It has a real kind of Mad Max meets Borderlands soaked in neon kind of look. The art is beautiful. I love how the boxes are just the artwork, and then on a plain background actually looks really, really nice. And all the cards just continue with that really nice aesthetic to it, really. So the other thing I really like about this game as well is that you have water tokens. You start off with 3 every turn. There is a way to sort of carry a water token over. You might also have cards that you can use as a bonus to give you more water tokens, but they are just these like nice acrylic chips here, and you get the white and the black. I think in the manual it says that there's 6 of the white and you have 3 each, and then the black are kind of the excess ones you get, but we play one person has the black, one person has the white. That's just how we play it. But you need to be able to activate cards, you need the water, and it's actually very limited for you. There's not much you can do on your turn, which thematically is pretty good, because it's the wasteland. There isn't much in the way of resources out there, so you have to sort of make every move count as best you can. And yeah, we played a couple of games and I just immediately fell in love with it. And also the cards themselves. Roxley are known for sort of making durable games, so the cards won't need sleeving. They're sort of that PVC where they're really, really bendy. I can tear up components for a legacy game, but I can't test the limits of what Roxley in their videos show you can do with these. So I'm not going to bend them and fold them, but they don't need sleeving. They're very durable. They're waterproof. So it's just that the mat and the tokens. So it's a really good quality game as well. But yeah, we played it, and immediately I was just like, this is an absolutely fantastic game. And when I was making my list, yeah, I mean, it's in number 20, and I've only had it for a couple of months and that. But if you can get hold of a copy and you like sort of one versus one, um, then yeah, Radlands is definitely one to go for. Highly recommend it. So number 19 on my list today, it's the first climber. It is King Domino. It's gone up 2 places since last year. Designed by Bruno Cathala. I've got the Coil Springed Games edition, and it's a 2 to 4 player tile laying game where you build a kingdom with different. So there's like forests and fields and the sea, and you trying to build um, areas are all joined together of the same type, and they also have these crowns in them, and the crowns act as a multiplier. So if you've got like 6 forest squares across your dominoes, all touching, and then you have 3 crowns, so it's 6 times 3. You've got 18 points, and you're trying to maximise the score across your kingdom, and you're also conformed in the standard game. You're conformed to a 5 by 5 square, so you get to a point where sometimes you might have messed up your placement and might not be able to place a domino, so you have like a weird looking square with a bite taken out of it. But it's one of my favourite quick games. It's one of the easiest games to teach. It really doesn't take very long at all, and I've played with gamers and sort of, I don't like the term non-gamers, but people that don't have their own board game collection and sort of dabble in these sort of gateway games only. But everyone's enjoyed it. I've played at all the player counts. It's good at 2. Probably my favourite. You have at each round you have 4 tiles to choose from, and it's really clever how it works because you have 2 columns of 4, so you can as you take your tile to put into your kingdom, you then in turn order you then get to pick which of the next 4 you want to go for the next round. So you have that advantage of you may have gone first, and they're laid out in numerical order. So the higher the number on the back of the dominoes, the better they are. So sort of the mine ones with lots of crowns and stuff, the high numbers, but fields with no crowns are the low numbers. So when you are first in the pick list, you may get one of the the low numbered poor tiles, but then you get first pick on the next one. So I really like that mechanic. And when you play at 2 player, you get to have 2 meeples to choose. So you get a bit better choice. So I played 2 player for a long time, and then when I played 4 player, and I was limited to just 1 meeple, and 3 other people are taking tiles that I want before I get to have my go. And you can also see people looking at your kingdoms and working out like, I can't let you have that because that's another crown, and it's going to add another 5 points onto you. But like I said, I mostly played it 2, and after a while of doing the 5 by 5, we moved on to the 7 by 7 variant, which for 2 players uses all the tiles, and obviously with the higher player counts, we can't do that. So I will play the 5 by 5 again when I play with more friends. But the 7 by 7, me and my girlfriend absolutely love playing that variant now. And I found out the other day when somebody on Facebook was posting their scores that they were teaching their son the game, and the son was the son was kicking their butt and getting better and better at it, and they added up scores, and I looked at the kingdom and it didn't make sense, and I added up, and it's only when I looked in the manual and found out there's 2 other variants for scoring that we've not been using. There's one where you can keep if you can have the kingdom your castle in the centre of your kingdom, you get bonus points, and one if you can have an exact 5 by 5 without any dominoes that you haven't been able to place because you haven't been able to fulfill the criteria, and they get you more points. So I mean, they are variants, so there's not like we've messed up the rules in that, but yeah, I think that's a nice extra challenge we're gonna start putting into our future games now. But it's like I say, it's just an easy. I'll just show you some of the tiles I was on about. So you have the different sort of landscapes. So you've got the mines and the wastelands, and then you've got like a field, which we always say is like desert, but it's a field, like a wheat field, and you've got the water. And then you get these really plain double tiles that are just they don't really get the multiplier, which is that crown on this side. I still haven't got used to the camera flipping. But yeah, so you're just sort of laying these due to certain rules, and there's the numbers on the back. So when you deal the next 4 out, you put them in that numerical order so that you know the top ones are the sort of the weaker tiles. But yeah, it's just a really simple, fun game. It's like 10-15 minutes. It's a good laugh, so a nice palate cleanser, a nice opener. Yeah, so that's King Domino. I really, I like to recommend a lot of games to people, but I really think that King Domino should be in almost everyone's collection because it's just an absolutely great, fun game. But yeah, that's my number 19. Next on the list, at number 18, is Kubitos. It's a game designed by John D. Clare, published by AEG, and it's a 2 to 4 player dice drafting push your luck race game. And when I first saw the game with the box art with the cheese guy, I didn't know what the game was about. I didn't know anything about it at all, and was completely uninterested in it. It's one of those games you see it and it's like, no, not gonna play that. Not gonna buy that. And then I watched Tom's review for Shut Up and Sit Down, and just like couldn't believe I nearly missed out on it. It looked sounded absolutely fantastic to play, so I tracked it down, and it's a 2 to 4 player game, but we've only played it at 2 players so far, and we've just not had the opportunity since I got it to get it to a bigger group. But it just works really well at 2. There's no like you get like area control games when you play them at lower player count, and the map feels empty because there's just 2 of you and you can kind of do what you want. Kubitos isn't like that. It's just you're both racing, and you have we have 4 maps in the if I can unfold this. We have 4 maps in the game, so they look like this, and then on the flip side you've got some different ones. So there's like an oval, and there's a straightforward race. There's an island one, which is sort of very narrow choke points in it. And you are just moving your character piece. Obviously, I'm the blue elephant every time. I love even the animals are like designed to be like cubes. It's brilliant. But then this is what you're racing with. Big old bag of dice, and it's a push your luck game. Reminiscent of it's like Quacks of Quedlinburg. So you start off with basic dice, these grey dice, and they just give you, I think, money and potentially a foot. And a foot is what you use to move, and money is used to buy better dice. And as soon as you can keep rolling, but as soon as you've rolled 3 faces on dice, because a lot of the faces are blank. The majority, you can get like a dice with 4 blank sides and then only 2 icons on it. As soon as you roll 3 sort of faces, usable faces, they go into an active zone every time you get that. So it's not like King Domino where you can decide. Sorry, not King Domino. King of Tokyo. It's not like a sort of a Yahtzee game where you can decide to roll whatever you want. Once they are face up, they are active, unless there's a specific rule for that. To do with the actual dice itself. Once you hit 3, you are then tied in, so that if you roll again and all the faces come up blank, you've busted. So it gets really tense when you've got some really nice results, and obviously that as you get less and less dice in your hand to keep rolling, there's more chance of getting those blanks. What I really like about it is the replayability. So as I said, there's the 4 boards to mix things up, but there's also of the 8 coloured dice. Which are all represented by different animals. So you've got the yellow one is he's not an animal, but the yellow cards are the cheese. There's a dinosaur for purple. There's cats for white, dogs for brown. There's a beaver. But each character has 8 different cards for them that do a variation on their abilities. They're all kind of the same thing. Like the cat is mostly about movement. The little lobster is all about you sort of battle with them. So if you all roll reds, whoever has the best results out of those ones is the only one that gets to use it. But there's like 8 different variations on their abilities. So we shuffle those up every game. And it's just a random setup. It's mostly good. Sometimes you can get really dull combinations. Just some of the cards don't gel together, whereas other cards can like synergize really well. And when you get those, it makes for a much better game. But it's just still. Yeah, you just see people like, I want to buy a dog. I need to buy a dog, and the dog is, bless. The dog is when you get a lot of their bonuses, you then lose the dog again. But yeah, it's just a fantastic. It just looks great. The artwork is colourful. It's just fun. I can't wait to play it at a higher player count for the absolute chaos. Because you're supposed to play. You roll the dice simultaneously, so it's a bit like Quacks, where you're just all taking out the bag at the same time, and then you do the next stage one at a time round. But it's just. You just have one of the games I had, and I just had a massive handful of dice by the end of the game, because I was so far behind, and you get like sort of like a bonus. There's like lines on the racetrack, so if you're like too far behind, like how many of these lines you are, you get bonuses. There's another track you can move along that gives you bonuses. You can add more dice. And I was rolling like 15 or 16 dice, and just kept going. It's yeah, and we've also most of our for 2 players, you could end up spread out around the racetrack. We've ended up very close. Most of our games end either by one of us winning by a turn, so the next person manages to cross the line would have been the next round, or like the last game we played. I was in last place the entire race. I managed to overtake my girlfriend, but I was first player, and she managed to then cross the line and go like technically 2 spaces more than me to take the win. So yeah, it's really nice that they always seem to end up close. I think that little red line trick for the sort of rubber banding almost does help with that. So you don't get half around the race and think, what's the point in giving? Might as well give up on this. But yeah, it's just fun. And we got other sort of serious race games like Flamme Rouge and Formula D, but this is just a nice fun one, and I love dice rolling. So it just works on that level as well. But yeah, I think it's quite an expensive game for what it is. I know that I read the other day, they originally planned for it to be a 6-player game, but obviously 6-player you need more components, so it made the game even more expensive. So AEG decided to cut it down to 4-player maximum. I think there's an expansion coming next year. I don't think I'm going to hesitate to buy that. That's anything that makes this game even more fun is going to be an immediate purchase. But it's it can be quite expensive. I think I paid. I'm not going to say. I think I paid more than I normally would have because I just really, really, really wanted to get hold of it and play it. So I would love to recommend it, but if price is an issue, maybe it's not an immediate purchase for some people. But if you can get to like your friendly local game store and play it with a bunch of friends, I highly recommend that. And if you can get it in your collection, or if you're already playing it and love it as well, I just can't stop ranting about this game. It's gone in at number 18. I got a feeling the more I can play it, if we get higher play counts next year, it's going to go up on my list. So yeah, glad that Tom caught me and turned my face around and shoved it into Kubitos and said, "Don't just walk away from this because of the cheese on the cover." So yeah, I'm glad I got a second chance on that game. So that's Kubitos, and I'm going to stop talking about it now. Okay, number 17 on the list is another new entry. It's Wingspan. This is designed by Elizabeth Hargraves, published by Stonemaier Games. It's a 1 to 5 player sort of engine building game, card drafting engine building. But it's all about collecting these birds into your hand and then playing them onto your board in a certain way that you can sort of get better and better abilities that are on the bottom of the card. Oh, these are upside down. Some really nice artwork of each of the birds. I don't think there's no duplicates. The cards themselves look quite busy, but it's just quite basic information. That's not going to focus. So you've got the name, you've got the sort of habitat that it can go into, the food cost to get on there, the points it's worth, the nests. These are useful for end goals and end round goals. And then if they've got an ability, there's like brown for every time you activate that habitat. I think white is as soon as you lay the card, you get a one-off ability. There's pink for end of game ability, and then there's a yellow one that's used in the expansion. I can't remember which one that's for, but it's Wingspan's a really nice and relaxing game, and you'll just you've only got sort of like 4 main actions you can do. You can either take cards, gain eggs, gain food, which is if you've seen any images of the game, you'll know that there's a nice cardboard sort of birdhouse dice tower, and these are the little wooden dice with the different food types on it. So you're gaining food, which you need to be able to lay the birds down, and then you can. The fourth action is to actually lay the birds down at whatever the cost is. There's a lot of cards in this game, so much so that we've brought the Oceania expansion, which adds things like nectar and some other end of round scoring tokens. But we haven't brought the European one because, as far as I know, that is just bird cards, and we don't need more bird cards. The box is cramped at the moment, but they are all individual. There's a lot of the abilities that carry over. So I actually played a game the other day and I had 3 birds in 3 different habitats, and they all had the same ability, which was to do with if there was wheat available in the bird feeder, you could either cache it or keep it. And I had 3 birds that did that. So no matter which ability I used, either feeding, laying eggs, or taking cards, I had that ability. and that was just a coincidence. I wasn't looking to get those in there, and that is one of the issues with the game. I know Quintin's review on Shut Up and Sit Down. He was very much that you are sort of stuck as a passenger sometimes with what cards come out. I mean, I had the other day, and there was a specific nest type that was required for an end of round bonus, and the 3 cards available that were face up didn't have that nest type on them. I didn't have what I needed to refresh the 3 face up cards, so I kept taking blind cards, and I just could not get that nest type. So at the end of that round, I scored 0 points. There was nothing I could do about it. There's no way to circumvent that. It was just the luck of the draw. But we play this more. It's one of our. I mean, all the games we play are competitive, but this is one that I find it. I just sit back and relax and just come up with a little plan with what I've got dealt to me, and just see what happens. The other day we played a game where we both thought my girlfriend had won because I didn't fulfil any of my 2. I had 2 gold cards, end of game gold cards, and I was 1 short on all of the requirements for it. So the fact that I hadn't scored those, we thought, my girlfriend's scored both of hers. She's going to win this. And I still managed to somehow win the game. It caught me by surprise. The other thing I really like about this game is it's one. There are lots of games out there that you can spruce up. I know we've got the metal coins for Lords of Waterdeep, and you've always got the folded space inserts for a lot of stuff. But Wingspan is one I see a lot of people do, and there's a lot of variety. So you can. We've got like the these little 3D printed plastic types. I mean, these are for the mice or rats. But we've got a bag of these for each of the food types. And I've seen so many people on like Etsy and stuff. You really sport for choice on what you can go for. Some components I've seen for other games, and you sort of look up the game, and there's like 1 or 2 people design it, so you're tied to if you like the look of them. That's all you've got. Well, Wingspan, so many 3D printed plastic ones, so many wooden carved ones. And that's just for the food types. You've got eggs. I know Stonemaier released sort of spruced up version of the eggs. People have their own 3D printed birdhouse dice roller. There's little birdhouses instead of the cubes for your action cubes. It's a really nice game to spruce up. And actually, oh god, I haven't got them in the room. I put them somewhere else. For my girlfriend's birthday this year, I brought her some wooden, laser etched wooden boards for both the players, so it keeps your food tokens and play tokens and cards in, and also for the end of goal ones. So yeah, it's just a great game to sort of spruce up with some nice extras. It's pretty easy to teach. My friend has taught her parents, and they all enjoy it as well. I've only played 4-player once. The game did drag more. It's one of those nice games that's player count doesn't really change the dynamics of the game, because you're all kind of just playing on your own board and just taking turns. So 2-player doesn't feel much different to 4-player, except for the runtime of the game. That 4-player game did go on a long time. But yeah, it's I can see why people don't like it, but I also see why people do like it. It's a very Marmite game, I think. But we really, really like it, and it's gone straight in quite high up on my list. More not just for the game itself, but I just have fun with my girlfriend playing this one. So it's that experience and enjoyment that she gets from it, and that we get from it together. So yeah, that's Wingspan at number 17. On to number 16 now, and it's the final new entry of this group of 10. It is the Isle of Cats. This is a 1 to 4 player polyomino game designed by Frank West and published by the City of Games. And it's another one of those games a bit like Kubitos that when I first saw it didn't really appeal to me at all. And then I discovered polyomino games and my absolute love of those. Games like Paris La Cité de Lumière and Patchwork, and my girlfriend just randomly brought Isle of Cats one day. She liked the look of it, and from the first play, I absolutely adore this game. It's brilliant. It's another game that we've only ever played at 2 players, so I haven't played at the full player count. But it also feels like it's one of those ones again that doesn't really change too much with the higher player count, because it's one of those things where although more players can take more tiles from you from the 2 sides of the island, you'll have more tiles available to you because you know that goes up for player count. But the aim of the game is to, if I get the boat board out, is to capture or rescue the cats from the island before the bad guy gets there, and then lay them onto your boat. And there's certain rooms that are divided up. They're marked up as sort of like bedrooms and the captain's room and whatever. And then there's extra little bits, like there's the little coloured ones. If you can cover a little coloured map with that coloured cat, you get a bonus. And you want to try and cover the rats, because they're worth minus points, as is not completing a room. But I say the rats are worth minus points. I tend to get very lucky and regularly get the I get like cards that benefit you from having rats exposed. And my girlfriend knows the moment this happens, because she'll see me placing tiles in a way that doesn't make sense, and then I'm like working around rats, and then she's like, "Oh crap, he's got this." So he's gonna get basically it cancels out almost cancels out the minus points you would get from that. But so it's quite clever. So you get fish as a currency, and then you start off with a permanent basket. You are drafting cards back and forward, a bit like sort of say Bunny Kingdom. So you each have a hand. I think it's 7 cards per round, and you take 2 cards and then hand them over and take what they have. So after the first 2 turns, for me and my girlfriend, we know what's going to be available, and you can see what your opponent's going to take off you that you didn't take. But then each of the cards has a cost, but you don't have to buy all the cards you have taken. So if you want to kind of block your opponent from getting it, but you can't afford it, you can still do that. And then you can just put those on the discard pile, and then just pay for what you want out of that hand. And those cards can give you extra baskets, and there are other cards throughout the game that can give you more permanent baskets. So although you start off with the ability of only having 1 permanent basket to capture 1 cat, there are ways to work around that and get more cats per round. So you're paying for the card use, and then you have to have more fish left over to pay for the cats. And it's done that the cats on the left side of the island are worth 3 fish, and the ones on the right side are worth 5 fish. And they're all drawn randomly, but they are just these cute little polyomino tiles with really cute cats on them of 5 different colours, I believe. So you're trying to get these, but when you start, so the first tile you can place anywhere, but then after that, unless again there is a card that allows you to place, it says you can place your next tile anywhere you want. But if you don't have that, you have to then, from that start point, all your tiles have to touch. So it gets quite tricky with trying to keep groups of cats together, because the scoring is done on starting as a minimum of 3 is worth X amount of points, and then the more of the same colour cat you've got touching that are sort of linked together as families, then you get more points. And there's other things you can put on there, like treasure, different shapes of treasures, like a 1x1, a 2x1, an L shape, and then there's the rare treasures that were all different shapes. There's onyx cats that you can designate the colour to it if you can get it, but they're expensive. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot to think about and a lot going on, and there is, but it's quite simple, and it flows quite nicely. It's just drafting cards, trying to get the tactics, hope that you can get the cats you want before your opponent takes them. I've had that at critical moments where I've had a perfect plan, and it just all relies on my girlfriend not wanting the cats I want, and then she takes, on the very first turn, she takes that exact one that I was critical to my plan. Yeah, it's just a really cute looking game, and like I say, I absolutely love polyomino games now, and this is one of the best. It comes in a massive box. We've actually gone in for the Kickstarter so we didn't get the Late Arrivals expansion, but there was another Kickstarter this year that's for some extra stuff, like kittens, and I think it's like 3 modular things that go on there, and we've chucked in the Late Arrivals expansion as well, and that's going to come in an even bigger box with its own special insert. So I'm really looking forward to getting that. Yeah, it's one of our favourite games to play together. It was on our 10x10 this year, and it's one of the games we actually completed on 10x10. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to play this game and you have any kind of interest in polyomino or tile laying games of any sort, give Isle of Cats a go. It's just a really nice, cute game. Number 15 on my list is Splendor. This went up 1 place from last year. It's designed by Mark Andre, and it's published by Space Cowboys. And it's a 2 to 4 player gem collection card drafting kind of game. And it's one of my favourite gateway games. It's another one that's really easy to teach. It's a game where there's a limited amount of actions, and you can only do 1 action per turn. So it's really easy to teach people. Like you can do this, or this, it's all about collecting gems. And you start off the game with nothing in hand, and you're collecting these really nice plastic tokens, which I will just sit here all day doing that. and there's like rules to how you can take those. Either you can take one off of each pile, up to 3 piles, or you can take just off of one pile. You can take 2 as long as there's a certain amount based on player count. But then you're using these tokens to buy cards at their cost. So you need 4 blue tokens to buy that one, 2 red and 2 brown for that one, or and a blue, and 2 white and 2 red for that one. Once you buy these cards, they go in front of you into your little area, and they are then this card is then permanently worth an onyx, as well as 1 point. Not all the cards are actually worth points as well. So these 2 are worth an emerald and a ruby. So then the next time you need to buy a card, you can make it a mixture of tokens and the cards you've got in front of you, and it escalates. The game gets faster and faster. So when you're starting off, everyone's sort of just taking tokens and grabbing a card, and you've got 1 or 2 in front of you. But as you go on, and you end up with sort of like 15 cards in front of you, and you can just look at the display and be like, I just want that card, and it feels like you're taking it for free because you've got all the cards that amount to the cost of that card in front of you. But obviously, so the way it's designed is you have 4 rows, like a level 1, 2, and a 3, and they get more expensive to purchase as you go up those rows. So no one's really buying the 3s from the beginning; you can't afford it. But they are worth. They're more likely to be worth points, and more points at that. And then the other thing you get, again based on player count, you get an amount of nobles at the top, and they're sort of coming to visit you, and if you can impress them. So if you've got these. So if you've got 3 green, 3 red, and 3 onyx at the end of your turn, and you're the first person to do that, you claim him, and he's worth 3 points towards your total. And the way the end game works is it's the first person to cross 15 or to hit 15 triggers the end game, so everyone else then gets a turn. So you could trigger the end game, somebody else can still beat you if they've got an amazing move to do at the end. But yeah, like I say, really easy to teach. It's a great gateway game, and it doesn't take too long. It's sort of like 15-20 minutes maybe. With 2 players, once you get going, it can just get really, really quick. You're sort of reaching in to take your move as soon as the other player's taken a card, because you know what you're going to do. And there's a reserve action I forgot to mention as well. So this is there's some games like Carcassonne and stuff where you can do what's classed as dick moves, and you just do something to block off, or like Ticket to Ride, you can block off routes. And sometimes if you get an idea of what your opponent wants to take and what they're saving up for, you can take that card out straight away and reserve it. A lot like you do in what's the game? In Targi, when you can reserve a card that you can't afford now but you can buy it later. And when you reserve, you also get to take gold. It's the only way you can get gold, and that's like a wild card. So you get a little token that you can utilise as any gem, and you've taken that card away from them to buy at a more convenient date for you. You don't even have to buy it on your next turn. You can just when you can get it, when you can afford it next. So there is that kind of like dick move ability in there. I've only ever reserved, in all the times I've played Splendor, I've only reserved a card once. For some reason I just don't do it. I think my brain sees it as a wasted turn, when I could be taking gems that I need or taking a card I need, and it's kind of a like a half move almost. But I really, really like this game. I love teaching it to new people, and I love watching that moment when they click about how the cards that they're trying to get, and not just picking a card that you can afford just because you can afford it, because you can kind of lean yourself too far one side, so you can have like 6 rubies but then only 1 of everything else, and you're constantly going to be needing chips still to make up those other ones. So trying to make it a balanced collection, so you've got like a decent number of each one, so you might only need like 1 or 2 chips for each gem as you're going up through the rankings, to get the better cards and stuff. The thing I love most about it is that absolute escalation. I did a blues review this week, I think, and I just absolutely love that escalation of the slow start of taking a few tokens, and then they take a few tokens, and then you might take a few more and get 1 card, but at the end there's just the tokens just stop being used, and you're just like card, and it's whoever, and you're suddenly getting up to those high, the ones that actually have the points on them, and it's like, crap, I only need to get if I can get this card that's worth 4 points, and it also gives me the 3rd card towards a noble that's 7 points, and I can cross the line in like 2 goes, and it can just happen suddenly. We also have the Marvel version. They came out last year. I haven't played that as much, despite being a massive Marvel fan and a massive Splendor fan, and that changes a few things. There's like an Avengers bonus token in there, so some of the cards have little Avengers A on them, and whoever has the most at any time in the game gets that, so it's constantly moving around the players, and it's worth extra points. So if you end up with it at the end of the game, you get that. And there's one gem that you can only get a certain way, but you need to get all 6 of the Infinity Stones. So that's what I really like about it. Instead of the gems, it's the Infinity Stones. It's I think it was a kind of a no-brainer that they adapted it that way. But it's just another way to trigger a different way of doing the end game. In fact, I was so used to playing Splendor that we didn't play the Marvel version correctly the first 2 times we played it, because I couldn't switch my brain over to the different end game conditions for it. But yeah, I just really like Splendor. I really, really like it. That's all I'm going to say about all the games. The closer we get to number 1, it's just I really, really like them. Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to play it yet, I highly recommend it. And it's another one of those games a bit like King Domino that I just think, for a rainy day, for if you ever meet somebody new to gaming, or if you just want to relax and have a sort of an easier flowing game with not so many rules and stuff, a nice filler game. Splendor should be in a lot of collections. I think it should be most people's collections. It's really, really good. On to number 14 on the list now, and it's one of only 2 non-movers from my list last year, and that is the awesome deck builder Star Realms. This is designed by Robert Doughty and Darwin Castle and published by White Wizard Games. It's the original version, this version, just this box of cards, is a 2-player only game, but they did release some expansions and some sort of extras that can put up to, there's up to 4-player game, there's co-op versions of it now. I actually do have, I don't know if you can see, I have the, when I was at UK Game Expo this year, I bought the big box and a whole bunch of expansions, because we just had that for about a year and absolutely enjoyed it, and just wanted to get more of it. So I've brought a load of the blister packs and the colonies expansion. Yeah, it's just this is so worker placement is my favourite genre of gaming, but deck building is my second, and this was the game that done it for me. It's a nice little 1 versus 1 battle. I've not played it with a high player count. I don't think I ever will, because I just like that sort of head to head with it, and it's just all about your sort of crappy start. It's like all deck builders. Your crappy starting cards. It's just like money and a few. I think you have like 1 ship or 2 ships to the Vipers that can do a little bit of damage, and then you start buying off that market, and you get some super powerful ones. And if you can, it's one of the deck builders where you shuffle your discard pile into your hand, unlike some other games that sort of put a twist on that, where they do different ways of recycling your cards into your hand again. Star Realms is that one where you sort of shuffle it and then just hope that those 3 cards that work sort of have the synergy together all come together at the same time into your hand. And there's nothing worse than being sort of near the end of the game and then just drawing a bunch of sort of money cards, but not enough that you can buy anything off a market, because the market's gone into the sort of super expensive ones that are only available, and there's nothing you can do. But yeah, my only complaint about this game, I think, is the scorecards. It's a bit weird how they do it, where they have 1 card with like 0 to 9 on it, and then another card is sort of the 10s, so 10, 20, 30, 40, and you kind of got to move it down and mark where you are, and it can get a bit confusing. I think I'm going to move on to using, there's an app for it as well you can use instead, so it just keeps track of the scores with an up and down arrow, which would be much easier. I don't know why I haven't used that yet, but yeah, I love I just love that you can just get certain spaceships, like the Needler and stuff, that you just you know them well. We know them well enough now, so when a certain ship comes up in that market, it's the first one to grab it. It can really make your fleet a lot stronger. I'm looking forward to trying co-op on this game, and also there's I brought the scenario packs as well, which changes some things at the beginning of the game. It can change the start up, so it can limit you to how many cards you can have, or it can throw in an extra one, or you can start on a lower damage, or you can have your health set to the maximum, higher than what you normally start off, to make a sort of prolonged game, or include certain cards into your starting hand you wouldn't normally. I think it's like 20 in the pack, so that'd be interesting just to sort of give that extra twist on replayability. But yeah, there's not much I can discuss about it. I mean, it's just, there's no extra components. It's just cards. The artwork is okay. It's just 4 factions. They each have their different kind of strengths and weaknesses. It's deck building, but it's deck building done perfectly, I think. So if you haven't had a chance to play this one yet, definitely give it a go. Which is what I'm going to say about all the games on this list. You know, they're my favourite games, and I just want everyone to play them and enjoy them. On to number 13 on the list, and it is the excellent two-player only game Targi. This was designed by Andreas Steger and published by Cosmos, who makes some brilliant two-player only games. This was on my list last year, quite far down, like mid-30s. We played it a few times before the end of 2020, and then we liked it so much we put it on our 10 by 10 this year, and it's just grown for me. This has actually jumped up 23 places, so it's the highest climber on my list this year, and it's basically a game where you have three meeples each, and you have a path around the outside of your sort of turns. So there's 1 to 16 around, and each of these cards is tracked by a robber, so that's how you know what turn you're on, but he also blocks that action. So each of the cards around the outside of the board have an action, and then inside that you'll have a 3x3 grid of either tribe cards or goods cards. So tribe cards are what you're trying to collect into your little tableau, and there's 5 different types. There's like Oasis and Camel Rider and Targia, and then you have the goods cards. So that's how you gain sort of gold, spice, gold, pepper, salt, and dates, and maybe victory points as well. And they sort of when you place your meeples on one of the outside action cards, once you've got 2 that bisect and meet up on those goods or tribe cards, you then place another marker there. So you are taking the actions on the outside. It's really hard to show you unless I actually show in the manual. Maybe that might be better. So yeah, here you have the outside cards, all your actions, and then the 9 in the middle is sort of the cards you're trying to collect, either the tribe cards to set collect or the goods cards to give you more goods to be able to then pay for these tribe cards later on. So you place them so they bisect, and you'll have 3 meeples, so you'll have 2 bisects on the middle section, and then it's all about maximising those actions around the board. You sort of carry those out, and some of those can just be gaining goods as well, and then taking that those middle things as well, and building a nice little tableau of a maximum of 12 cards. So you can have 3 rows of 4 cards, and you get points for if they're of the same type or if they are completely alternating. So you're trying to get specific cards and place them in specific order, because you can't change the cards around once you've done. And each of those cards also gives you, the tribe cards give you a little bonus as well sometimes. So either make purchasing easier, or they give you like a one-off, or you can avoid paying the robber. So the robber works around the outside, and every time he gets to a corner, he basically robs you, and you have to give him goods, and that escalates as you get higher up the game until it can be quite costly with like giving up gold. But yeah, it's just a really nice game, and I say really nice game is like my catchphrase. I should have that on my t-shirt instead of what I'm wearing. But it's just, yeah, so you place your meeples one at a time. There's a first player. You alternate and place one at a time, so sometimes it gets quite tactical. Like if there's a gold coin in the middle and you want that one, you kind of have to block that route, but then they can block your other bisect, so you might not get it. But there's one card that lets you move one of your bisecting points. So you can have a plan, but it might not always work out for you. And then the first player, once you've placed all the meeples, the first player then does all of their actions first, and then moves on to the second player. And it either finishes with you get all the way around the outside to the 16th square, and it's just whatever the results are there, or the first person to finish off the 12 cards of their tableau sort of triggers the end game as well. And yeah, it's always really close with me and my girlfriend. I've only ever played it with her, and I don't think I'll ever play with anyone else, because we've played it so much now. I love that. I love when you get games that you play with a regular person, and there's that kind of meta game within it where you know each other's moves well, and you know the components, the cards, the actions, you know it so well. So yeah, I've enjoyed this. It's been on our 10 by 10, and I think we're going to play it loads next year, and that won't be on our 10 by 10. It's a fantastic game, and yeah, I haven't played with the expansion yet. I've heard good things about it, but not felt the need to alter this game in any way. I enjoy it as it is, and Andreas is really good as well. He's one of those designers that just sees. I don't know how much time he spends on social media, but he always seems, whenever I post about it and when I see other people post about the game, he's one of the people commenting and just saying thank you for enjoying my game. I think that's really nice. But yeah, it's probably one of the best. I'm just looking at the list that's coming up. Yeah, it is one of the best two-player only games I've ever played, and I can't see us getting bored. What's really nice as well about it is a lot of the two-player only games can be quite quick. That's good. You get your star your Kahuna, your Jaipur, 15 to 30 minutes maybe. This is a really small box, and a really it's really simple play style, but it's quite thinky, quite tactical, and it's an hour long game every time. So it's probably our smallest big game, sort of one of the longer ones in that. But yeah, Cosmos do great games, and this is one of the best. So this one is down 5 places from last year, but it is. I talked about how good Tagi was as a two-player only game. This is my favourite two-player only game, and it's Jaipur. It's designed by Sebastian Pochon, and my version is published by Space Cowboys. And so yeah, two-player only, and it's a sort of market card drafting, point scoring game. So you are trying to collect goods, and there's 6 different kinds. There's diamonds, silver, gold, cloth, herbs, I think, and leather. And it's very clever in that you are almost kind of pushing your luck. So you're collecting sets, and then you can either take cards from the middle to put your hand, limited to 7 as well. So that's really good because it kind of controls when you can and can't do things. And then you're sort of cashing them in at the market to get tokens. So for leather, you hand a leather card and you get tokens. But the amount of cards you hand in gets you a number of tokens. So if you were to hand in 3 leather cards, you get 3 tokens. And you can see there's points differences in them. And you have the 6 piles of tokens for each of the 6 goods. And they start with the high numbers and then work down. So if you're the first person to get that good handed in, you're going to get the highest numbers. And if you leave it too late, you're going to get lower numbers, obviously. But if you've waited longer, there's a chance you've got more cards to hand in. So you could go in early and hand in the first two diamond cards that you've got. Just hand them in. And for the sort of precious goods, the silver, gold, and diamonds, you have to have a minimum of 2 cards to hand in, whereas the other ones you can just do 1 at a time. But yeah, so you hand in these 2 cards, and the first 2 tokens for diamonds are worth 7 points each. That's 14. But if you saved up and got 3 of 4, you also 3, 4, or 5. You also get these little bonus tokens. So that's if you've handed in 4 goods, and they're worth random amounts on the back. There's a range to them. So the 3 points are worth like 1 to 3 maybe. I can't remember exactly. If you get a 5-pointer in there, there's a 10-point token. If you get 5 cards handed in, and you get the 5-card bonus token, there's 2 10-pointers and then a 9-pointer. So that can help swing the game as well. And you also have these camel cards. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, so you get these camel cards, and they're obviously not good, but you can sort of trade them in a different way, and they're quite good for when you want to grab a load of cards suddenly, and you've got a load of camels. You can just like hand in all 5. And then that doesn't reveal new goods to the market, which can hinder your opponent. There is also a token for having the most camels at the end of each round. I've only ever won that token twice. I don't even, for some reason, like Splendor, where I don't reserve cards at all really as a tactic. I barely care about the camels. Although ironically, I did go for the camels in our last game and I won that game. So maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. I don't win this game very much against my girlfriend, but I love it. It's one of the first games we ever played together when we met up last year. And for many months, it was, I used to go around a house, sort of the latter half of last year, turn up with my big bag, my game bag full of games to pick, and Jaipur was always on there, and Jaipur was always the first game we played for our gaming weekends. It's just really fun and quick. You play over 3 rounds, or sorry, no, best of 3. So we do have a lot of games that end with my girlfriend gets 2 and I get none. But it's it's just fun, and just trying to. There's so much frustration in there's not many cards I want in the market. I think there's like 5 cards in the market, and you see a cloth there, you take that, and then the next card that gets flipped into the market is the diamond, and it's just like, and then you know your opponent, whether they were planning to take, whatever they were planning to do on that turn, they're taking that diamond then, and you've lost that chance to. So yeah, as soon as a diamond turns up, especially if it's dealt at the beginning of the game, and then we decide first player. If I'm not first player, I can see like a diamond card in the middle. It's so frustrating. But I love that. And then it's all about controlling the end game, which is either when the deck runs out or when 3 of the token piles are gone. So there's this control of like trying to push your luck and get enough cards in your hand to get a bonus token before your opponent could just lay down like one leather, and that could be the last leather that ends the game. So I love that kind of daring each other, like hoping that they want to hold on. Do you want to hold on? Are you just going to end it now and hope that you've got more token points? Because you keep your tokens face down, so you can't really, you can see how big the opponent's pile of tokens is, but they could be a load of 1-pointers, and you can have like a load of high numbers. If you haven't been paying attention to what they've been taken, which we play so fast, I don't really ever remember what my girlfriend's taken, so it's all that surprise at the end when you see us counting up the piles. Yeah, it's another one that's simple to teach, doesn't take it too much time, and did us well during the pandemic when we were just always playing 2-player games. But this is my favourite, 1 versus 1, and that's Dry Per. And we're on to the final game of today's list. So this is my number 11, and it is King of Tokyo. It's dropped 7 places from last year, mostly because I just haven't played it as much as I'd have liked. I don't find it works well at 2 players, so that's why it's not come out much. I know the Dark Edition kind of fixes this a little bit with one of the mechanics it's added in there, and I have the Dark Edition, I haven't tried it yet. But King of Tokyo is still absolutely amazing. I've played it with lots of different kinds of groups of players. I brought it for my nephews last year, and it's the first time I've ever taught them to play, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. So you are vying for control of Tokyo. Here for 1 to 4 player, 2 to 4 player, and here if you've got 5 or 6 players, so you can have 2 monsters attacking Tokyo. And it is just it's just a dice rolling sort of Yahtzee game where you've got 6 faces on the dice, and you have 3 attempts at rolling them to get the results you want. And you can punch, which either hurts the monster in Tokyo, or if you're punching from Tokyo, you hurt everyone else around you. You get a little lightning bolt to give you these little green cubes, which are the currency to buy cards. You can get hearts to heal as long as you're outside of Tokyo, and then you get numbers 1, 2, and 3, and they give you points. So the 2 ways of winning King of Tokyo are either to first person to get to 20 points, or to be the last monster standing. I don't think I've ever had a game I've played that's ended with the last monster standing. It's just easy to score points, and it's a shame sometimes because games do devolve into a game where people are just playing defensively and just going for points and not really sort of, you'll see them with like 3 punches and be like, I don't want to go to Tokyo, so I'm just going to roll those ones again. But it's a really easy to teach. Here we go again. It's a really easy to teach and fun game. Not a lot of rules, not a lot of tactics really. It's just silly, especially when you get the cards giving you abilities. So you get the wings card, very expensive, but you can use 2 of your lightning bolts to not lose any hearts that round. I've got a zombie card. It was like I think it was a promotional one that you die and then you basically start again. So to have that card probably really annoy other players when they beat you down and then you sort of jump back up again. And then you've just got the selection of monsters. I've actually gone crazy during the pandemic. I love this game so much before the pandemic that during it, instead of buying other games, I would sometimes just expand games. And this is great for it because I've just got so many extra monsters from like the power up expansion, and then there's like individual characters like Kong and Cthulhu. I even managed to get a promotional Seagull, which I've not used yet. And then earlier a few months ago, Halloween, we had a friend round, so we just played with the Halloween characters and chucked Cthulhu in there as well because he's scary. But yeah, it's good. I've not played with the power-ups yet, which give you sort of like asymmetrical powers, which I think would be fantastic for replayability. That is the one thing that, so everyone picks their favourite looking character, but they don't really do anything. Everyone's starts off the same level. But yeah, it's just fun, just like daring each other to punching someone a lot, and then saying to them, right, you're going to leave Tokyo, and they're like, no, I'm going to stay. And yeah, I just find it doesn't play very well at the low player counts. It does need a nice. In fact, I don't think I've. Oh no, I have played it 3 once, and that also wasn't brilliant. So 4 minimum for the most fun out of this, and I've played a couple of games at the high 6 as well. And so again, that's why it doesn't get played as much. That's why it's dropped to my list. But King of Tokyo will always, I know it will be one of my favourite games of all time. Like I said, I've got the Dark Edition, which I've not played yet, and I've also got New York, which I played once. And I did like New York, but it felt a bit like some extra rules have been chucked in just for the sake of it, and it was a bit more complicated. Not brain bustingly difficult, but it just King of Tokyo is quite simple and quite nice for that. So I don't think it needed the extra stuff in there, like the different blocks of the city and the army and stuff. And they, I believe, Yellow. Sorry, I didn't say this game was designed by Richard Garfield and published by Yellow Games. But they've teased that there's a 3rd game coming, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I hope they don't go too far and make it super technical, but I don't know how they can keep it simple but make it different enough to be a worthy purchase. We'll see. But yeah, King of Tokyo, that's my number 11 for today. And that brings us to the end of this list. So that was the penultimate list, penultimate part of my top 50. So the next video, next Wednesday, well, I don't know how long this one lasted again. I know I've rambled more. I feel like I feel like, you know, when you're in the presence of a celebrity and you just gush, you're just like, oh my god, it's amazing, and I can't use real words to describe why it's amazing. But these are really, really good games that I've enjoyed over the last couple of years, and the next list will be even crazier, no doubt, because it's my top 10. And I worry that video is going to go on for like 2 hours. But once again, to all of you, thank you for everyone that has watched these videos. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for the support. I apologise again for the audio. This microphone has proven to be... It's either the microphone or the software I'm using on the computer. I'm still getting into this. But I know that when you start content creation, you know, you have 2 choices. You can either spend lots of money and you get all the best stuff and then start doing it, which would be a bit of a failure if you weren't successful or decided you didn't like it and you wasted all that money. And what I did is what some people advise, is just to hit the ground running. So I just brought an affordable microphone. I have a bit of a crappy PC, which I'm hoping to replace next year. And I'm just doing what I can and just having fun doing it and learning as I go. So hopefully next year, 2022, we'll see the videos, the quality improve. I'm gonna be moving on to reviews. But yes, just absolutely thank you for any single person that takes the time of their day to watch my content. I'm just a guy who lives in England on the south coast that loves board games, obviously. And there's a whole host of us content creators out there, and there's some absolutely awesome ones that I really do look up to. And I'm actually thinking about doing a video on that in the new year as well, to sort of spread the word on the content creators that have inspired me in all of this and this endeavour. So yes, for the 3rd time, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to watch this. Thank you for your kind words. And as always, I hope that any games that you've been on the fence about and I've talked so optimistically about, they get you to take a punt and find the same enjoyment out of them that I have. Because I think all of these games are just absolutely fantastic and enjoyable. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I do weekly unboxings on a Sunday, and I'm just trying other types of videos. So after this top 50, like I said, I'm going to be moving on to reviews, hopefully, getting into that. I've got more content on Instagram at alwaysplayblue, and in the new year I'll be getting back to the website, alwaysplayblue.com, and starting to work on more regular content on there. But yeah, enjoy your gaming, enjoy Christmas, and I will see you before the new year for the final video in this series. Take care.